show was that streaming service that I was just watching on? Is it Amazon or is it Netflix or is it Paramount or MGM Plus? I don't even have MGM Plus.
You know, are we going to be team Dockers now or team clam diggers?
How does the man on the moon get his haircut? Eclipse it. Like that?
I just beat the hell out of a couple of people from Raiders Nation. I'm doing this for you, Bolts fans. Let's go!
Hold up. It's the Chargers Squad. Everything Los Angeles Chargers every week. Covering all the big hits and game-changing plays from the City of Angels. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Get ready and squad up. It's the Chargers Squad Show, starting now.
What is up? Hello and welcome to the Locked On Chargers Squad Show midweek, the evening midweek edition, and a four-banger. We haven't done this in a long time. I am Pete Fox alongside Kenjon Barner, 10 years in the league and 3 rings. Jim Daniels, covering sports in LA dating back to 2001, and a new member of the Locked On Chargers Squad Show. Rob Bushka, who Jim and I worked with at NBC Sports Radio for quite a while. He has been covering sports in the LA area for a long time as well. What year, Rob? What year can we affix to your resume?
1960. That way I sound smarter than everybody here when I'm not. So, no, I've been covering sports in LA since 2000. So, been around for a little while.
Very, very good.
Worked with both you guys before. Good to see you. And Kenyon, looking forward to it, man.
Absolutely.
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. It's officially not brought to you by FanDuel. We'll talk about FanDuel later. Oh, we already lost KB. Look at that. Here we go. He'll be back in a second. Not to worry. The big news, I think, that we're all finally relieved about is that Mike McDaniel is official. The Charger website has announced it. We've seen pictures of him driving up in his fancy car, and we now have no more worry or anticipation that Mike McDaniel is not going to take this job and going to end up somewhere else. It is official. He is the offensive coordinator, and that is a relief. That is very good. And the more I look at it, the more I dig around, the more I'm even more thrilled than I thought I would be as to what he brings to the table and how good it's going to be for this Charger offense. Now, the question I have, among other things today, as we are going to get into who the next DC is as well, because the DC is gone and we're going to need to figure that situation out. We'll talk about that later, but now we're going to get into the Mike McDaniel thing a little bit more. The question I have for all of you is, what's more important? Is his ability to scheme up a very clever, interesting offense more important, or his ability to facilitate a run game more important, KB? I know, and I don't want, well, you got to have a balanced attack. I'm going to ask you to pick a side, because obviously we know you got to have a balanced attack and you got to run the ball to throw the ball.
Well, you know what he's going to say.
Which one of those is more important for Mike McDaniel to bring to the table, to scheme up on the whiteboard to make this Charger offense click?
You know what? I'm gonna go opposite of where Jim thinks I'm gonna go. I'm gonna jump in the car with Mr. Pete Fox, right? All season long, we were hollering about get Ladd McConkey the ball. I think it's gonna be crucial with his very unique style when it comes to offense and how creative he is. It's going to be very interesting to see how he designs plays to hide and to allow Ladd to pop, and so for us as a fan base to truly see the fruition of what Ladd could be. So I'm excited to see what he does in his passing game. I know, JD, you wanted me to go to the run game, and listen, I wanted to go there until you basically said that's where I was going. I gotta have some mystery about me, right? I gotta be something different. But for me, it's how creative can he be to really evolve this offense from what we've seen over the course of the last couple of years, and what can he do with Justin Herbert? And I think it's going to be something that's out of sight. We've seen what he was able to do with Tua, right? And what he was able to do within that offense with Waddle and with Tyreek Hill. I mean, this dude had a top 2 offense, I believe, to the last couple of years of in his time there, not last season for sure now, but he's had 2 of the top 10 offenses in the year. Yeah, he's had 2 of those. So I'm excited to see what this passing game goes to and how Justin Herbert elevates through his scheme.
I know Jim wants to see more running, right?
I thought for sure he'd come in here and be dropping some inside scoop on Tyreek Hill and how he's going to follow his boy out here to Los Angeles, get up in SoFi, start running for Justin Herbert out there. Come on, let's go with that.
I think we are more complaining about Ladd not getting the ball if that was to happen.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, there would be more complaining on that front. No, you know what? I think that one of the things, I think it's no brainer that he's got to help the passing game. That's what's going to happen. It's going to be fun to watch. I think even from a casual fan standpoint, they understand, I think, what this guy brings to the table on some level. So the real challenge for him is to figure out how to get this running game going, because that's clearly the thing that was wrong with the Chargers, starting with Najee getting hurt really early on in the season. And so they're kind of, behind the 8 ball playing catch the whole time in the running back category. So that's going to be the real challenge. But the great news is that these guys are good with the ball out of the backfield too. I mean, I think he has wonderful pieces to play with, and I'm excited for one to see what he does. I'm the guy screaming every week, run the ball 25 times, so I'm excited to see what he brings to the running game and how he can make that sexier.
Rob, here's the number. In 23, the Dolphins led the league in total offense and passing offense and number 2 in scoring. That doesn't always equate to wins, but it's a good thing to lean on and hang your hat on if you can have that offense in the top 5 in any category, let alone the top 2. I think that's a positive thing and something we can all look forward to with Mike McDaniel running this offense.
Yeah, it is. But I think what a lot of it boils down to, unfortunately, as much as you try to scheme and the players you add, and KB, you can probably attest to this, is health. Tua goes down with concussion after concussion. They put some guy named Skyler in. I think he works at Wiener Schnitzel, their backup quarterback. I mean, come on, man. I mean, that's not going to get it done. Tyreek Hill winds up getting hurt. Now you're putting all the emphasis on Jalen Waddle and some tight ends. So you need some help and some luck to be able to go along with that. Yeah, but I agree with what Kenyon said earlier is you have more weapons. You're already more built for the passing attack right now. And what JD said too, with the rushing game, that is going to be a challenge to be able to get that. But we like to think run, pass, run, pass. But it's more pass, run. Try to honor that to give them some more time, man. But this game is one in the trenches. The big uglies were hurt on both sides for him. And Herbie spent more time running around with his head on a swivel than he could actually sit there, drop back, be able to look, find his guys downfield. And when you do that, it's going to be hard for any quarterback to be able to keep the team in the game.
Well, we've done something that I didn't think we could do. Go ahead, KB.
The great part about what Mike now has access to is not only the talent pool that he can pull from within this group of receivers and running back, but it's the depth, right? And that's something that he did not have in Miami. So when you look at this receiving group, if everybody does come back, talking about Keenan Allen specifically, you have Quentin, you have Ladd, you have Keenan, you have Gaston, you have KLS, you have Trey, you have a plethora of guys. And right, so when you talk about the health aspect of it, that's where the Chargers benefit from having these deep rooms that they have. We got to get deeper at the running back spot for sure. Certainly, we got to get some guys in there that can come in and contribute outside of Kamani and outside of Omarion Hampton. But I think the depth of this team, we'll see a little bit different from the Miami days where guys got hurt on that team. You didn't really have anything behind their starters. So that's one of the benefits that Mike will be able to work with getting here.
What about the depth of Mike McDaniel's wardrobe? I mean, did you see that jacket he's sporting, that OG, the black Argyle skin thing? That's LA right away. It's like he took that thing from Miami, brought it over here with him. You think he's going to help Herbie step up his game because he's still doing the Birkenstocks things, man?
Not at all. Listen, Herbie is a Eugene native, okay? Listen, you talk about, wait a minute, hold on. We wear these out there. Okay?
Yeah,
we wear these. Right. You know what I'm saying? So
because they're good for your arch support, right? I get you.
Talk about it, RB. Talk about it, RB. You got to get you a pair, you and JD.
Yeah, I got flip flops on, man. That's me.
I got these are Birkenstocks. Yes, fake Birkenstocks at that. The question I wanted to bring up, we found somebody that is a naysayer. I didn't think it was possible, but Agent Sato is like, not a believer in McDaniel, not sold on him. The Dolphins offense was horrible this year. I don't care about 23. Why do you not care about 23? You can't just discount it to make your opinion make sense. The numbers are there. They are real. They're tangible. You can't be like, well, I don't care about those numbers. You should. You have to, right?
If you're going to quote numbers, you should know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so
1,000%.
the fact is, those numbers are real and they happened. And the fact is that you're entitled to your opinion, that you're not a believer and you're not sold on
That's
McDaniel.
fine.
Yeah, the fact is that I think most people are excited, and I know I am, because I feel like what he brings, not only looking good in the uniform, I think the colors suit him. I feel like what he brings to the table with his creativity is exactly what the Chargers need. Having him, whether he's up in the booth or on the sideline, I think he's more of a sideline guy, and I like that. The guys in the booth, to me, you're missing something. You're not feeling the energy of the game in the booth. You got to be down on the field, and I love that. I feel like he'll be a down on the field guy, but to be able to scheme up things and not have to worry about all the other stuff as the head coach is going to allow him to flourish. And when you look back at his days when he was the OC in San Francisco, their run game was stout. And that's what we need. I think he's going to be able to, let's hope, right? Isn't it logical to say, Jim, that going to Miami helped his career become bigger and his availability of skill just broader?
Sure.
OC in San Francisco for a few years and then head coach in Miami for 4 years. Had to learn something there. So I feel like he's going to be, a well-oiled machine coming into this team with a lot of tricks up his sleeve. So
like a lot of guys got that head coaching thing out of his system now. Okay, I did that, and I found out what a bunch of BS all that is and how it's very little football and all kinds of stuff that I don't even really care about. And so I got that out of my system, and let's get back to doing what I do in a great place with great players. I mean, it wasn't a hard decision. If you look at the jobs that were available out there, which one of these groups of pieces do you want to pick up and try and be successful with? I'll take the Chargers. That's just exactly what this guy did. I mean, I said this last week when we were still waiting for him to sign. It's like, what's not to like? You're going to get a house in Manhattan Beach. You're going to drive 10 minutes to SoFi and you're going to coach Justin Herbert. Where's the downside in this? You've got, it's got a Hall of Fame upside in this thing, Super Bowl upside in this thing. And an owner that has shown that he's more interested than we've ever seen in trying to get a winner on the field and make this thing work. So yeah, this is a great thing, and it's a challenge for him too, because everybody thinks, oh, you're going to do this, oh, you're going to do that. So he's going to have to figure out how I can reinvent this Charger offense in a way unlike what you're predicting that I'm going to do, which is going to be pass.
Well, KB,
one side, P, you talked about those San Francisco days with Mike being out in San Fran. I was listening to Shady McCoy a couple of days ago, and he was talking to Deebo Samuels, and they were talking about the offense, and he said, Kyle Shanahan is really dialing this thing up. He said it has nothing to do with Kyle. This is all Mike. So a lot of people thought that it was Shanahan's system, but it was Mike behind the controls of it. So for him going to Miami, I think he already was who he was. He just was the head man now. I think he was developed, nurtured, matured, and already had the brilliant mind that he took to Miami in San Francisco based on what we've seen from those San Francisco 49er offenses while he was there.
Yeah, I want to get your guys' take on how many points did the Chargers score in that playoff loss? Refresh my memory.
3.
Okay. Do you think that little extra thing kind of nudges, man, look at all the points this guy scores in 23. Look what he can do with that. That has to be just the straw that broke the camel's back, in the same way that McDermott got fired 15 minutes after that Buffalo loss, man, because it was
insane. That's
the last thing you think of, not what you've done for me lately, or it is what you've done for me lately, not how long you've been around, what you did earlier in the year. They say, Kenyon, you start the year 7-0 or 8-0, and you finish the year 8-8, you're getting fired. You start 0-8, you finish 8-8, and you're getting an extension. You agree?
I live that. My 2019 with the Atlanta Falcons, we started the season off 1-6, 1-7, and I think we won our last 7 of 8, and it saved Dan Quinn's job. Yep. But if you flip that, like you just said, and we start off 8-1 and we lose the last 7 of 8, now we're having a different conversation. So you hit the nail on the head with that.
Well, I mean, another name, Joe Lombardi got fired because of the Denver Broncos performance. His starting quarterback is out. It's a snowstorm in the second half. I don't care. You're fired, because he scored 3 points and had 32 yards in the second half. So it's a real thing. And when you don't produce in the playoffs, and you don't score points, the time that you have on the sideline is going to be short-lived. But
hey, can we talk smack about the competition since you brought up the Broncos for just a second? Do you love how Sean Payton is throwing his young quarterback under the bus? I'd have never drafted you if I'd known you had this ankle issue.
I did not catch that. No,
he's
but,
a dirty man.
The thing I think, Jim, is that Mike McDaniel is definitely not looking past being a head coach again, right? That's not something that he is writing off. Like, I did that, it's good, I'm going to be a coordinator. No,
whenever he wants to.
Yeah, he wants to be successful again and get another shot at it, without a doubt. And if he can take this Charger team to a level where they haven't been before, or get Herbie a playoff win, that'll definitely be something on the table for him moving forward.
Yeah, 2 words for you. Robert Saleh. Remember that guy? Didn't he coach for the Jets? Jets. He goes back to San Francisco. Their offense is falling apart. Everybody's hurt. It's a mash unit. So what does Saleh do? Beef up that defense. That allows him to hang in all these games. They wind up losing in the divisional round. Oh, my God, everybody's the greatest coach here. Now he's in Tennessee again. One and done.
Yeah. So there's a reason they call it the coaching carousel. That is the way that it goes, and all of these guys want to be head coaches again, unless they're old, and Mike McDaniel is far from that. So we'll talk more about what the offense can look like. I still agree that when you've got Herbert as your quarterback, the offense has to be more pass centric, but you got to lean on the running game, but you have to be able to throw the ball all over the field. He's got to be slinging it. And that was one thing in that Rams Seahawks game that I saw. And I'm not the hugest Bradford fan. I was like, that guy gets rid of the ball so fast. That's what Herbert needs to do. I mean, Stafford, sorry. You have to get rid of the ball like lightning quick, especially when you got a pass rush coming and your offensive line is banged up. So,
but that's years in the league right there, people. You're talking about Matt.
17.
Like you're talking about a guy who has seen everything, right? You put him in the categories of those guys like Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees. There's nothing new under the sun for them. And so for Justin Herbert, who's still early in his career, right? He's considered a vet, but he's still young. So he's being exposed. Defenses are changing the way that they're disguising. There's still a lot that Herbert has to see. So when you, again, looking at Matthew Stafford, that's one of the best quarterbacks to have ever played the game, in my opinion, when you look at what he's able to do with the ball. So that's just a different breed of quarterback right there.
Now, guys, I know we got a long time in the offseason coming up here to cover combine and drafts and stuff. One thing we haven't talked about, though, are the Chargers receivers all the right pieces? You can always use somebody else more. Allen's been around a while, a little long in the tooth. Does it all fall on McConkey there? McConkey reminds me of how Cooper Kupp was a few years ago, what he could be as far as, but is he your number one? Or do you need a speed guy? Do you need somebody else? And how much more credence do we hold with Keenan Allen?
Well, we'll touch on that after the break. It's the Locked On Chargers Squad Show on the Locked On Chargers YouTube channel, where you find Daniel and David Monday through Friday, the Locked On Chargers podcast. We thank you for making the Locked On Chargers YouTube channel your first listen and the number one sports podcasting network.
Hold up. It's the Chargers Squad. Everything.
Hey, it's Matt Derry from the Locked On Lions podcast. The people I love depend on me. If I'm gone, the financial responsibilities don't disappear. I didn't want my family figuring things out during the hardest moment of their lives. That's why I knew only one place to go. I chose life insurance through my friends at Ethos. Ethos makes getting life insurance fast and easy, 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. There's no medical exam. You just answer a few simple health questions. You can get up to $3 million in coverage. Some policies are as low as $30 a month. I love the folks at Ethos. Protect your family with life insurance from Ethos now by going to ethos.com/LockedOnNFL. In as little as 10 minutes, you can get the free quote and up to $3 million in coverage at ethos.com/LockedOnNFL. That is ETHOS.com/LockedOnNFL. Ethos.com/LockedOnNFL. Application times and rates may vary.
All right. It's the Locked On Chargers Squad Show on the Locked On Chargers YouTube channel. Rob, to answer that question, we talked a little bit about that here in the offseason. I personally have gone on record saying I think Keenan Allen is done with the Chargers because of guys like Trey. Someone has already commented over here that Trey Harris is going to flourish in Mike McDaniel's offense, and I agree. That's a guy you want to get the ball to more. So there's plenty of talent there that aren't named Ladd McConkey or Ladd McConkey. So there's other guys that are there, and they're going to want the ball more, and Mike McDaniel's going to want to get them the ball more. And nothing against Keenan Allen, he's a stud, he's a Hall of Famer, right. Probably. But yeah,
I know these days,
right? Yeah, I don't like
Belichick.
I don't like to throw that around too much, but he's in the discussion anyway. So, but I don't think he's going to be a Charger next year. Will he play again? That's anybody's guess. But I know that KB is a big fan of Trey Harris, and you want that guy to be out there more. You want him to get the ball more, right?
Yeah, what you've seen from him is how he came on as the season progressed. He started off very, very, very limitedly involved in the offense. But as the season got on, you start to see more and more and more of him. And what you've seen was explosion. You've seen a physical runner. You've seen a guy that can make all the catches, and you've seen a guy who can make plays after the catch. So when you have that type of receiver in your room and you drafted him as early as you did, you want to get that guy on the field and you want to use him as much as possible. You want to get your return on your investment. So I would definitely expect to see him more involved in the offense this season, maybe a little bit more than Ladd, maybe a little bit more than Quentin Johnson, based off of what I've seen from him. He's just a guy that can do it all, and he has the body type that can sustain the physical contact that comes with playing at the receiver position in the NFL.
I still think you can get more out of Quentin Johnson, Jim. Don't you?
Absolutely. And, don't poo-poo the Tyreek Hill thing entirely. I mean, would you be shocked? I mean, would you?
Is he up? Is he up? He got a lot of money. He got a lot of money on the books.
Yeah.
I think that's $100 million man.
Oh man, maybe not.
If I might be correct. I think he's $100 million man. I think.
I do not know the answer to that
question. Up or not?
Yeah,
I know he got paid a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
Nothing surprises me when it comes to player movement in the NFL or any sport for that matter. But the fact is that the running game will have to become a big part of this offense. Omarion Hampton will obviously be the bell cow, but there's got to be somebody else. Is that Kamani Vidal? I don't know. Maybe, are those two guys that you could go, I can't believe I ever looked at them and didn't think that they would be a great duo. Vidal stepped up and had a good season, but as the secondary guy, I don't know. Look, I think I might like to see somebody else along with those two guys, maybe a third guy. Is that too much in the backfield to have three guys, KB?
No, I'll go back to my Philadelphia Eagles days. Listen to the lineup that we had. We had Darren Sproles. We had LeGarrette Blount. We had Jay Ajayi, we had Corey Clement, myself, and Wendell Smallwood.
Wow!
So we had a deep room, and that's not too much. And at that spot, it's such a physical spot and puts a physical demand on your body. Yep. You need to have guys because you're one hit away from your season being over playing that position. And so that next man up mentality. So no, it's definitely not too much. I love what Kamani Vidal did this season. It was inspiring. It was unexpected. Nobody expected Kamani Vidal to come in and do what he did this season. So I love him being there, but I do think you need more out of your number two. I think you need a little bit more than what Kamani brings to the table.
Hey, KB, do you do it through free agency? Or, I mean, you played college, what now, 10, 12 years ago, maybe when you're playing college?
Long time.
Okay, it's been a while. Now, man, they throw the ball all over the place. You got quarterbacks making $5 million in college. They got to perform. Can you name really any good running backs off the top of your head, except, of course, Jeremiah there at Notre Dame? I mean, it takes you a minute to think about. So it's not deep. The draft class is not deep. Where do you get these guys from?
This draft class is not deep at the running back spot.
Only have one pick, so
Yeah. Yeah.
So, no, I mean, yeah, with one pick, you're definitely not spending your first round draft pick on a running back. It's, as we talked about last week, that should be right there in that offensive line. You should be out there either trying to get a center, guard, something, and to beef up the middle of that line. But it's definitely something that you have to do through free agency. And they did sign Royce Freeman. We didn't see him at all, So he's there. He's a guy who has starting pedigree, who started for the Denver Broncos, did his thing while he was there. So, I mean, you just don't know how it's going to shake out, but it is absolutely something that you can address through free agency.
We have a Ducks grad in the chat, KB, that enjoys seeing you here, but became a Charger fan because of Justin Herbert. I'm sure he's not alone. There are a lot of people
definitely not alone.
Ducks fans that are getting a lot of Niners fan checking in. As a Niners fan, we loved Mike. He's fun, smart, and kind. He watched years of Tua's tapes to show him what he did well, and when he was broken to boost his confidence, he will rock. All right, and that's good to see. So yeah, there's a lot of excitement on the table with regard to Mike McDaniel and how this offense is going to look.
Hey, Pete, I want to ask you this. One thing I think we haven't talked about: McDaniel was a coach last year. He didn't answer to anybody. I don't want to hear ownership and stuff. Now he answers to Harbaugh. Does Harbaugh try to develop him anymore, or say, you got 19 years in the league, you kind of know what you're doing, or does he still work with him to make him better? And if so, how does he make him better?
I read that Harbaugh's comment was something to the effect of he's a head coach who runs the offense.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like co-head coach, that sort of thing. Although that's not the title, but that's kind of the mindset.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that Harbaugh is not going to try to micromanage Mike McDaniel.
That's interesting. Just that statement alone. I'm a head coach who runs the offense. I don't think you can't micromanage Mike McDaniel, especially if he's bringing his system, right? This is a system that Harbaugh is going to have to learn. Harbaugh is going to have to figure out. So you can't micromanage me. I don't think you can't control. I don't think Mike McDaniels would have taken this job if the conversation was, we're going to do things my way and I'll give you you got a little bit of a leash.
Right.
I don't think he would have took this job. And I don't think Harbaugh is that much of a fool. I think he's a very intelligent man who knows that, hey, this is this man's system. We've seen the proof in the pudding, what he did in Miami. We've seen what he was able to do with San Francisco. So you have to trust him until you can't, right? I think trust is given. And what you do with my trust, that'll tell me how to handle you. It'll make me handle things accordingly. So I just don't think that's something that Harbaugh would do. I just don't think you can do that to him. If you went the other route and hired somebody who didn't have the experience, then you can micromanage. Then you could kind of pick and choose how we do this thing. But with Mike McDaniels, I just don't see that being the case.
Yeah, Jim, don't they say surround yourself with good people and delegate? I think that's what Harbaugh's doing here.
I don't think, Jim, you can micromanage, any coordinator. That's just not going to work. Like, if you don't trust in them, then don't give them the job.
Exactly, because you have enough to do as the head coach, as all of these guys find out when they go from coordinator to head coach. Look, and they've all been in it for a while. They know, at least they think they know what they're getting into. And if you're Coach Harbaugh, you're thinking, okay, I don't want to have to think about that. I have so many things that I need to work on. I bring this guy in here. He is like a head coach. I can give him this. He's going to run his thing, and I can let it go, and I don't need to think about that. And that's a huge bonus, because now I get to focus on other things like fixing our kicking game, fixing the rotation in our running back room, whatever it is that needs my attention. And I don't have to worry about the offense. So I think that's a part of the deal. The selling point for Harbaugh as well is like, this guy is so good that he's going to take stuff off of my plate instead of add things that I need to now check off and go through every day to make sure that we're doing the right thing.
Plus, if he gets ejected from a game for defending one of his guys, he knows McDaniel's the guy to step in and fill in. You don't got to worry about him being an interim coach, right? Natural transition.
He might have to spend a minute or two micromanaging the DC, but I doubt that as well. We'll talk about the guys that are on the list, the candidates that have been interviewed. It's a long list. We got 6 guys to go through. I'm going to do that right after the break. It is the Locked On Chargers Squad Show on the Locked On Chargers YouTube channel. Today's episode of the Locked On Chargers Squad Show is brought to you by Game Time, one of my favorite apps. There's nothing like being at an NBA game or any game for that matter. Also concerts and comedy, the crowd, the energy, the moment. Getting tickets, though, can be tough. That part hasn't always been so simple or affordable. This is where Game Time comes in and has become the go-to app for getting tickets fast without hassle. It puts the advantage back where it belongs, with the fans. So get the Game Time app. You can see views. You can get discounts. The longer you wait, closer to the game time, the price comes down, and that will be very helpful to your bottom line. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Game Time today, and remember, it's GameTime.com. GameTime.com. What does that say? No, it's GameTime.co, not .com. Oh, really? I didn't. Oh, I'm glad I read that. GameTime.co, not .com. My bad. So make sure you check them out. GameTime.co, or get the app. It's very easy to use. And today's episode is also brought to you by FanDuel. It's the last call for football on FanDuel. One final Sunday, one last kickoff, the final chance to get in on the action before the NFL season officially comes to a close. The Super Bowl is number 60. And FanDuel is making sure you're right in the middle of it with a special offer just in time for the biggest game of the year. Whether you're backing your favorite, backing the favorite, or riding with the underdog, or building the same game parlay, this is the game that everyone's been waiting for. If you're a new customer, bet $5 and you'll get $200 in bonus bets if you win. Make it count, because after the Super Bowl, the season is over. Last call for football on FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the Super Bowl. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. All right, the Locked On Chargers Squad Show on the Locked On Chargers YouTube channel. Jesse Minter, the new head coach of the Ravens, which I think for him will be good. We kind of said that's the best option on the table. And, when that was still kind of hanging around, we were like, maybe McDaniel likes that idea. So I was happy to see that story come across, that he canceled an interview with the Ravens. I think that was probably because he knew that Minter had accepted the job. So now the Chargers got to find a new DC. Here are the 6 guys that they have interviewed from top to bottom from Chargers.com. Steve Clinkscale, who is a Charger employee. Adam Fuller, who is a Charger employee. Dylan, is it Ronnie? He works for the Chargers. Aubrey Pleasant works for the Rams. Zach Orr is the DC for Baltimore, and Denard Wilson, who is the DC for the Titans. And when I look at this list, as we did with the OC, just kind of from the way you look at their intensity, this Aubrey Pleasant guy seems like he knows what he's doing. He's an intense looking guy, and I love stealing guys from the Rams. That's always nice. He's got like 2 or 3 jobs with the Rams. One of them's on defense, one of them's on offense. I'm not sure I love that.
And it's the second time with them too, so I don't think he's really going to go anywhere. I think he wants to go Ram.
For me, the 2 guys that are current DCs, Zach Orr and Denard Wilson, seem like the most likely candidates if you're not going to stay in-house with Steve Clinkscale. I feel like Clinkscale's the name I've heard the most, and is probably the front runner. As bad as the Titans were this year, their defense was their one bright spot. So you look at this Titans team and you say, well, they were terrible record-wise, but their defense at times was okay. And from a statistical standpoint, they were pretty good. So what do you think about this mix, KB? Do any names jump off the page to you?
I mean, immediately you got to go to, like you said, Zach Orr and Denard Wilson, right? Those are 2 guys who are in that position. Zach Orr has been a defensive coordinator for the Baltimore Ravens for the past 2 seasons. So if you're looking at experience, that's where you're leaning. If you're looking for guys who've been there, knows what it feels like, knows what it sounds like, that's where you're looking. But if you're looking for continuity, right, you're looking at Clinkscale. You're looking right there because he knows the rooms. He knows the defensive linemen. He knows the linebackers. He knows the secondary. He knows the strengths and weaknesses of this defense. So if you're looking for continuity and a familiarity with these guys, you got to start right there, right? You got to start with the in-house guy who knows your team like the back of his hand, who spent the most time there, who knows Derwin and what Derwin likes to do and what he doesn't like to do, who knows Teair Tart, who knows Henley, who knows all these guys and can put these guys in a position to be successful. He's heard the moans and the groans and the dislikes from being there with, a mentor or whatever it was. He's heard what they love. He's heard it all. And so you have to start there. But again, if you're going with experience, you got to start right there, in my opinion, with Zach.
Jim, which name do you like the best?
Steve, he came with Coach Harbaugh from Michigan. They've been together for a long time. I think he's probably been groomed for this in the back of Harbaugh's mind, maybe in the front of his mind. I'm going to be surprised if he doesn't get it. And for all of the reasons that KB just put out there, he knows what makes his defense tick. He knows exactly how to keep these guys going. They're all going to be probably likely happy if he gets elevated to it. They're going to see, one of their own move up the ladder and do better. He's the one that makes sense to me, unless you have some marquee name that, steps out of the shadows and decides that, they want to coach at this level in Los Angeles with this team and all of that. But no, I think Clinkscale he's at the top of the list for me.
Hey, Rob, how important is it to you that his unit, the DBs, were a big part of this defense and played well for them all season?
What division do we play in again? The AFC West, right? I know the Raiders don't have a quarterback. Okay, Mahomes is still pretty good. I don't care if he tore 7 ACLs. Okay, he's the man. Oh, Nix is proving he's coming into his own. Yeah. You got Herbert. Thank God he's on our side. The Raiders will get Fernando Mendoza, and they'll win like 4 games this year. With him. So you got some arms coming at you. That part is important as well too. And also, and the reason I'm so heavy on division, guys, is because most of your games are against your division. Who do you got running back wise? The Broncos don't have a stud back anymore. The Chiefs don't really have a stud back anymore. This is a passing league, so you got to be strong in the secondary. Look, the Rams lost the NFC Conference Championship game because they got picked apart by Sam Darnold, who still is yet to prove himself in the big one until he shut a lot of people up there on Sunday night with that performance right there. So I agree with what you guys are saying though with Steve, going there. He's a defensive backs coach. I feel bad, and I don't want to say it's a token interview, but guys like Adam Fuller. Fuller coaches the safeties. Safeties to me are like part of the defensive backfield because you got cornerbacks too. It's like the inside of a pistachio, right? Okay, here's Clinkscale. He's the whole pistachio, and the little part inside, that's Fuller. Does Fuller honestly think he has a chance with this? Maybe he does. Maybe he doesn't. The thing about Zach Orr too, obviously a defensive coordinator coming from Baltimore. Now, not necessarily fair to him, but who was their DC before he took over? Mike McDaniel, who now has the Seahawks in the Super Bowl right now. The defense hasn't been as good as it's been since McDaniel left, So how much of that was McDaniel doing that as well? And I always try to look at, again, in the division, who are you facing? Are the Ravens stopping with Cleveland? Last I checked, Kevin Mack and Ernest Biner, they don't play anymore. Right, Ickey Woods isn't playing anymore for the Cincinnati Bengals. JD, you're as old as I am. You remember those names: Franco Harris, Rocky Blyer. They're not running the football. It'd take me an hour and a half. It'd probably take Kenyon a half hour to name you three running backs. In that AFC North where they play almost half their football games. So I'm not maybe as enamored. And I saw Buffalo throw up, I think, 75 on them in Week 1. With that Ravens team right there. So yes, defensive coordinator is awesome. That's always a guy at the top of your list right there. But Clinkscale, how far he goes back with them and how strong that this secondary is.
His time in Cincinnati as part of I think he was the defensive backs coach in Cincinnati. Not the Bengals, Cincinnati University. He called the plays. So if you're wondering about that, that's something he's experienced with. And, KB, how important is the DC being a good play caller to the success of the defense? I know scheming it up is one thing, but the actual guy who talks to the guy on the field who's got the headset that can hear what play we're running, is that as crucial to the defense as it is to the offense?
You got to know what you're doing. You got to know what you're seeing. You are the eyes for the defense. So it's a very important component to being a DC. You got to know what you're up against. You got to know what you're facing. It's crucial. But as for me, it's the scheme, right? And knowing how to put guys in position, knowing how to disguise. You don't want to be so vanilla that an offense a quarterback can just pick you apart. So for me, it's more about scheme. If you have the players, you can be great and develop a scheme and you can run from there. So it's all equally important, but your scheme is the most important aspect of it, in my opinion.
Kenyon, take me onto the field real quick. We got some of the smartest fans, the Chargers fans that are watching this, and we love you. But the DC up in the booth, he sees them break the huddle. How quickly does he relay, and who does he get that to try to get the guys to shift because he knows the play that's coming? How does that thing happen? Is it the guys holding the cue cards up, with the weird symbols on it?
No, so the guy in the booth, his communication, it is to some coaches on the sideline, but it's primarily to majority of the time your Mike linebacker, right? Because that's the captain of your defense. That's the guy that's getting everybody aligned. So that's going directly into your Mike linebacker. But there's a cutoff period to where there is no communication. You don't get to stay in the helmet for the entire duration of the play of the play clock. So you get, I think it's maybe 15, 20 seconds, something like that, to get your play in, and then all communication comes to a halt. So once that huddle breaks, there is no communication. So now it's on. Wow. Yeah, so now it's on the captain of your defense to recognize, and your DBs to be able to adjust and adapt to the shift and the motions, because you're going over all of this in practice. Okay, if number one motions over here, we're checking to this. If the tight end shifts out and becomes a part of a bunch you go over all these different scenarios. So once that call comes in, it is now on the players to make the adjustments and make the correct calls and audibles to the defense and the coverages.
Does the NFL cut that off upstairs?
Yeah.
There's
Wow.
Absolutely. It's complete cut. Okay. Yeah, complete cutoff.
Correct me if I'm wrong, KB, but a big part of the reason that happened was because of Chip Kelly and Justin Herbert in Oregon, right? He would talk to him right up until the snap.
Right.
And they said you're getting too much time in his ear because he would call the plays.
No, that wasn't with Chip. Because Chip didn't have Herbert.
Who was the quarterback then?
Chip. We started off with Masoli, then Darren Thomas, and then ended up with Marcus for 1 year.
Oh, it was Mariota. That's right. It was Mariota, because I remember when I was covering SC, of course, we would talk trash about Oregon, and like, if it wasn't for Chip Kelly talking to Mariota right up until the snap, he wouldn't be the quarterback then.
But I don't think that's a thing neither. I don't think that's a real thing. I don't. I stood right next to Mariota. I didn't hear no voice coming through his helmet.
Okay.
I heard you though. I saw you, Marcus. Hand me the ball. Give me. You want to win? Put Booby in. Let me spin. Right. I heard you.
Let me
put
spin.
Kenyon in. Let me
Absolutely.
spin.
We heard that as SC people. We heard that.
Listen, SC is always hearing something. SC wants to come up with any sort of excuse as to why they're a mid-level exception team. Like, come on, I don't care nothing about an SC Trojan. I've only known a Trojan to be good for one thing, and sometimes they don't work at that.
Wow.
Yes, what time it is.
All right, we got more DCs to go over here, a little bit deeper, and we're going to talk about Teair Tart. We got one more break to take. It's the Locked On Chargers Squad Show on the Locked On Chargers YouTube channel. All right, today's episode of the Locked On Chargers Squad Show also brought to you by Prize Pick. The big game is almost here, and there's no better way to stay locked into every moment of the big game than with Prize Picks, the daily fantasy app where it always feels good to be right. With football season coming down the final stretch, now's the perfect time to close it out strong. Prize Picks makes watching the game even more exciting by letting you build simple lineups around player projections. No drafts, no waiting, just football action all the way through the playoffs. You pick 2 to 6 players and their stat projections for the game. You go more or less, and that's all you need to do, right? Above this number or below this number, and away you go. You can find your favorite feature like early payouts. Getting signed up is easy. Getting the money to them is easy. But the biggest part, of course, that part's easy. The bigger and more important thing is getting the money back when you win. They do it with Venmo or some digital pay service like that. And I wasn't fortunate enough to actually collect anything. But you get your money paid back to you quickly when you do win. So lots of cool features and a lot of fun that can be had with the Prize Picks app. Download the Prize Picks app today and use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's Locked On NFL for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It is good to be right. All right, the Locked On Chargers Squad Show. 4-banger today, our mid-evening show. Rob Bushka, new to the program, will be joining us here 2 to 3 times a month. Of course, Kenjon Barner, 10 years in the league, Jim Daniels, and I am Pete Fox. There are 6 guys the Chargers have interviewed for the DC position. 2 of them are current Charger coaches, including Adam Fuller, who we talked about. This guy, Dylan Ronnie, it looks like an intense guy from his pictures. Don't know a whole lot about him, but I don't like the fact that he finished. This is his 2nd year in the NFL. So to me, the callous experience is not quite there to be jumping to becoming the coordinator. Just 2 years in the league, right? Isn't that a lot to bite off, KB, to become a coordinator when you've only been in the league for a very short period of time?
Yeah, I wouldn't trust it. I think there's a lot to learn once you get, unless you've had a plethora of experience at the collegiate level, with you being the guy calling the plays, controlling the defense and all of that. I think it's a tall task to be able to jump from college straight to the NFL and step into that role as a D coordinator. Like, you're not dealing with kids, you're dealing with grown men. There's a lot that you have to be able to handle as a coordinator. It's not just X's and O's. You got to figure out how to handle all these different personalities, all these grown men dealing with grown men issues, and how to keep. There's just a lot. And so, as a guy who's only had 2 years of experience, I just don't see that this going that route. If I'm being honest, I really think this comes down to a 3-man race. Mm-hmm. I think this comes down to Steve. I think it comes down to Denard Wilson, and I think it comes down to Zach. I think it's a 3-man race. I think that's where the focus is. I think everybody else.
Ronnie's the outside linebackers coach. He's not even the linebackers coach. He's the outside linebackers coach. So
I think they're just doing what they need to do. To give it the appearance of that. But I really think this is a 3-man race.
Yeah, I agree. The name the Clinkscale storyline seems to be the front runner at this point. But anything's possible, and Denard coming from the Titans, who have a good defense, could be a good call for them. But I think the better deal, the better match, the better fit is the guy that's there, that knows what this offense or this defense is, and this defense has been successful. So you do not want to upset the apple cart too much with regard to what has been going on. Real quick, want to back up something that I got a correction on what was how Harbaugh described McDaniel. It was not a head coach of the offense. It was a now I've lost it. Damn it.
I seen a comment.
Where did it go?
I think he said
a word or two, but
yeah, he wanted a head coach. He wanted a head coach and his offensive coordinator. Yeah, essentially. A head
coach of the offense, not a head coach who is the offensive coordinator. So yeah. Either way, it's going to be good. Another defensive piece of news that came in, the Chargers wasted no time signing Teair Tart. I think that's big. How do you guys feel about that? Jim, do you like that deal?
Absolutely mandatory, yes.
74.7 on PFF against the run. So his run defensive rating, 74.4, which is good for 5th among guys who had 240 snaps or more. The thing I like about Teair Tart is he is pissed off all the time. He's like one of those guys that is this close to a personal foul all the time. He plays with an edge, and it can hurt you, right? But
yes, it can.
At times, it's a problem. But for the most part, that's what you want in your defensive line guys, right, Rob? Those guys that come out with a chip on their shoulder.
Yeah, you want them to be upset. You want them to be able to plug up and to be able to stop the run and put pressure on the quarterback as well, too. And you sit him and line him up next to Deshaun Hand, too. That takes away the left side. And we all know what's the most important side of your offensive line, the left side. It's a blind side for a reason. There's a reason a left tackle makes more than the right tackle. So if you can have hand neutralize that tackle, you get the pressure up the middle. With Tart, it really leaves, I think, more, the right side to be able to work on this year. So I'm a big fan, of the signing as well. So, I mean, look, you're talking to a guy whose dad played O-line in the Big Ten, okay? And he used to sit me down and say, don't watch the quarterback, don't watch the running. Of course, he's going to say that. Those are the guys that get paid. They're the flashy ones throwing up the points all the time. However, he says the game is won in the trenches, and I'm sure Kenyon would agree to this. Kenyon, if you don't have your O-line opening up holes, you're not going to rush for very many yards, which is why I still believe to this day Barry Sanders was the best running back in history. He had Lomas Brown and friends. That's it. If you put him behind Emmitt Smith's line that he had in Dallas, he'd still be playing right now.
Yep.
Okay.
Talk about it.
And if you don't have time to throw the football, you're not going to have a running game. You're not going to be able to hit your receivers, man. It's one with the O-line and a defensive push. You put pressure on the other quarterback, but that's no fun to go draft a big fat tackle in an offensive lineman. I want the guy who's got the cool Super Bowl dance like the way JD dances, backflips and spin, man. Make it rain.
I'm not sure what Funky Fresh is talking about here, but he's asking if Kasim Osgood is available, which I think is funny because Kasim Osgood was one of the first professional athletes I ever met when I started this business. And he went to San Diego State like I did. And I got his autograph. I was so excited to meet Kasim Osgood.
Yeah.
And he's just a journeyman. He played some time in the league. He's with the Chargers for a minute, kick returner. But I was just like, I got Kasim Osgood's autograph.
There you go.
Like, who's that?
Sign him and bring Darnay Scott over with him too, man. You'd be right there. There's a name for you.
Exactly. Last thing here before we wrap up, you guys brought it up at the beginning. I think Rob mentioned it, but Rick from H-Town wants to know how we feel about Bill Belichick not being selected for the Hall of Fame. KB was a member of that team, played for Belichick, and got a ring with the New England Patriots. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's baffling. I think it's appalling. I think it's laughable. If Bill Belichick is not first ballot Hall of Fame material, then no coach prior to him should have gotten in first ballot. Point blank. Period. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. This makes the voting committee look like clowns, in my opinion.
Yep.
This was a joke. What do you mean? The man with the most Super Bowls, the most playoff wins, the most AFC champion. What are we talking about here? Like, as a coach, what qualifies you is the ability to win. When Bill won in all of the most important moments, in the most important games, no one has. Bill is talked about and is the greatest coach in the history of the NFL. So how, when that is your tag, are you not first ballot Hall of Fame? I think
because he's a system coach. He's nothing without TB12. I can hear that right now. He's a system coach.
Okay, and that's fine.
No,
how many of the coach? No.
Yeah.
I'm not. I know not you, but for those who does have that argument, right? Always a system coach. I want you to go back and I want you to look at the history of whatever head coach you're a fan of that got into the Hall of Fame and tell me who they were without their best quarterback.
Thank you.
Tell me that. This is absolutely, this is diabolical.
What's the message, Jim? What's the statement being made here?
The statement that's being made that they don't want being made is the arrogance of the fat hot dog stealing writers who are in charge of this stuff. And it clearly needs to be taken away from them and given to the fans. Just let the fans vote for it. I mean, by millions of votes, they'll tell you in a landslide what they want. And isn't that who this is for anyway? Aren't we doing all of this for the fans? Why do we kowtow to these writers and give them this status that they get to control something like this? I mean, you obviously have no business in control of that vote if you don't think that guy's a first ballot Hall of Famer. You clearly don't understand football if you don't think that guy's a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Of all the things Belichick's done, the best thing he did in his career is stand at the podium. And right when he said, I'm happy to be here with the Jets. Oh, hold on a second. Mr. Kraft? Cancel the press conference. I'm going to New England. I'm going to coach the Patriots. Just walked off, right? Dropped the mic, and the Jets fans are looking around. And 15 minutes later, he's in Boston. I mean, come on, that makes him a Hall of Famer right there, right there.
Yeah, I'm puzzled. Again, I don't know who's in charge and who's on this committee, but we definitely got to have some conversation. Like this has to be valued. This group has to be evaluated.
Why do they get to pick? Why do they get to pick? I mean, this is a 100-year-old tradition of the beat writers that used to go to all the games. You can watch every second of every game from the comfort of your bedroom. You don't have to go to anything. They don't know any more than the next guy. As a matter of fact, you probably got guys that are watching this podcast right now that watch more football and watch more Charger tape than people that get to vote on this stuff. It needs to be taken away from them. They don't deserve it.
I'm just going to throw out the guy's perspective here, okay? How many of those voters are jealous that he pulls a 24 or 25-year-old girlfriend and they can't do that? So they're taking it out on him.
What if Belichick had a more age-appropriate girlfriend? Would he be in the Hall of Fame right now?
Man, listen,
65 and divorced and saggy. Yeah, he'd be in. He'd be in.
Listen, exactly. I'm sure half of these dudes that are making these votes, they wish they could, but they can't.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Right.
They wish they could.
Jordan's their screensaver. They're like, whoa.
Hey, as we wrap up here, I would like to thank our guy from H-Town, Rick, who helped us break some news that is real. Denard Wilson is going to coach with the other Harbaugh. He's going to New York to be the DC for the Giants. So he is off the table. So that means the Titans will be looking for a new DC as well as the merry-go-round of coaches continues to spin around.
How bad do they look right now, firing Mike Vrabel and he goes off and runs off the Super Bowl?
Clowns.
Pretty crazy.
Too many.
Word. That's the word.
Yeah.
There's too many clowns in this world to become a part of the circus, fellas.
And with that, I think we should wrap up. Our first four-banger here on the Locked On Chargers Squad Show. Rob Bushka.
I don't like the way that sounds.
Four-banger? Oh, you don't?
Something else.
That reminds me when I was in juvie at age 12. I don't want to go that route, man. That's another show.
Well, Pete, in the show. In the show.
Isn't that referencing like a four-cylinder, right? A four-banger. Like
Okay. All right. I got
Yeah.
you. Okay, I'm with you now.
Whatever. A quad box. How about that? The squad pod. Squad pod.
There we go.
Thanks, KB, for forcing me to be better. It is the Locked On Chargers Squad Show on the Locked On Chargers YouTube channel. For Kenjon Barner, 10 years in the league. Jim Daniels, Rob Bushka, I am P. Fox. We'll catch you guys again on Thursday. Take care. Have a good night and enjoy Super Bowl preparation. 2 weeks of it. Get ready. Here you go.
Sir.